Hey guys, just wanted to take a quick second and apologize about the echo on the audio here. I'm moving my recording setup from one room to another, and I'm having to order some additional sound dampening materials that won't be here for a few days. So if you would, just bear with me, and we'll be back to clean audio here shortly. Thanks.
Shut up and sit down.
Greetings, fellow art travelers. Oblix here, coming at you today from my creative test world. Now, today, I want to take a look at Mekanism power storage. Specifically, all the different tiers of it. We start down here at the lowest tier. This is a basic energy cube, and it holds 800,000 RF. And if you mouse over this little lightning bolt here, you can tell that it can push out 320 RF per tick. Not bad. But as with most things in Mekanism, they go up by tiers, right? So we go from basic to advanced. And this guy holds 3.2 million RF, a significant jump, and can push out 1.28 thousand RF per tick. So each increment of a tier is a significant difference. You go up to the elite, you can do 12 million, almost 13 million RF, and push out a little over 5,000 RF per tick. If you go up to the ultimate, which we'll find out is not really the ultimate, it'll hold 51 million in a single block. That is pretty amazing. And can transmit 20,000 RF a tick, which is insane. But Mekanism has within it something bigger. We're going to take a look at the induction matrix. Now, unlike the cubes, the induction matrix is a multi-block structure. And this is the smallest size you can possibly have that's useful. So it is a 3 by 3 by 4. And it doesn't matter if it's vertical or horizontal. These two are identical in capacity. It just has to be a rectangle. Now the rectangle has to be completely surrounded by these induction casings. Okay, you have to have them on all the outside, down the edges and in the middle. Anything outside, including the base, has to have an induction casing. So that's this block here. Now, inside the induction casing, you're going to have these blocks: induction cells and induction providers. You need a minimum of one each. So that would be 2 blocks, which is why this has to be 4 tall. Inside this structure, multi-block structure, there's 1 cell and 1 provider. Same with this guy. See, it's 3 this way, 4 this way, and 3 this way. That leaves 2 spaces in the center, 1 cell, 1 provider, just like this guy. Now the cells store the power. Think of them like big batteries. The providers let you use the power. Okay, it's like the garden hose. It controls how much power you can put in and how much power you can take out at a single time. Now, to get power in and out, you want to use these induction ports. Now, this port will do both in and out. It doesn't care. So on top of these multi-block structures, I've got coming out of them with a port. And then, of course, I've got our Mekanism power cables. But I'm also running an overloaded creative generator. this is just to fill it with power. It's not part of the structure. Everything below the cable is the structure, all this light gray stuff. You can see the same thing here. Okay, now if we take a look at this guy, you can right click anywhere on the structure, doesn't matter, there is no control panel. Right click anywhere and you'll see what this guy can do. If we hold over the lightning bolt, we can see that he is storing 400 million RF with one induction cell. So each induction cell you put into the matrix will hold an additional 400 million RF. Yeah, this guy calls himself the ultimate, but he's only 51 million. He's not even close. This guy holds 400 million, but he needs some friends. So you can see this guy's 400 million RF. This guy, being identically sized, just laid out slightly differently, is also 400 million RF. Now, as with all things Mekanism, seemingly at any rate, and just like with our cubes, there's tiers from basic to advanced to elite to ultimate. There is the exact same thing with induction cells and induction providers. So if we take a look, we can see here's a cell, a basic cell. That's what we have been looking at. There's also an advanced cell, which holds 3.2 billion RF. Now, here's the thing with Mekanism. Okay, it doesn't read in millions and billions. Okay, it prefers a metric measurement. Very similar to, say, your hard drive in your PC. So it reads in kilo, mega, giga, tera, and peta. So when you see giga, that translates to a billion. Okay, so this holds 3.2 billion RF or 3.2 giga RF. Then you go up to the next tier, which is the elite, and that's 25 giga. Then the ultimate is 204 giga. Now that's per induction cell. And you can have a bunch of induction cells. Now, just like the cells, the providers can be upgraded as well. So if we look at our providers, the basic can transfer. Remember, the providers let you put energy in or take energy out of the matrix. The basic provider can hold or can push 25 kilo RF, okay, or 25,000 RF. The advanced can do 204,000. The elite is 1.6 mega, which would be a million RF. And then the ultimate can do 13 mega RF or 13 million RF. That's in and out rate per provider. So if you had two ultimates, that's 26 million RF in and out. And that's just two. You can have a lot more. So I'm going to switch over to, oops, if I spell it right, survival, because I want to show you that you can upgrade from one tier to another tier and not lose any power. So your power is an investment. You don't have to regenerate it just because you decided to upgrade. So this guy's got a basic provider and a basic cell. And he's holding 400 million RF right now, or 400 mega RF if we use Mekanism's measurements. So what I want to do is take the cell out of here and upgrade it. Now here is the upgrade pattern. Now obviously a diamond pick is not part of it. That's just to allow me to get inside there. it does take 3 more basic cells and an advanced energy cube. So if we pop this guy open, we can see there's our cell right there. Now he did stop providing power. He's not going to accept anymore, and he's not going to give you any more once you take that casing off. But you're not going to lose any. So let me get in here and get that cell. Okay, we got it. And put that bottom wall back. Now notice when I mouse over, this says capacity 400 million RF, right? These guys are not storing. You see here, the capacity is also 400 million, but they're not storing anything. This guy has a capacity of 400 million, but is storing. So when I put him into the recipe, we get a new advanced induction cell, which has 400 million stored energy, but a capacity of 3.2 giga, or 3.2 billion. So if I pull that out and drop him in here and pop our casing back on, we can look. Notice that the bar went down, and we've got just over 400 mega RF and climbing at a rate of 25,000 RF a tick, and that is the input rate is limited by our provider, right? Because we have a single provider in there, a single basic provider. And you see he can do 25.6 thousand RF per tick, which is exactly what we're getting. So luckily that's why I use these overload generators. They can push as fast as it can go. So you can scale these guys vertically by increasing from tier to tier to tier your cells or providers, but you can also scale them horizontally. Remember, this guy had one provider and one cell. This guy also has one provider and one cell, and if we look, he's holding 400 million or 400 mega RF, right? But if I open him up, he's got an empty slot. So we can come over here, grab another cell, pop him in, place our casing back, and now he's got double the capacity of what he had before. He's not going to input any faster. Notice he's still 25.6, but he's got double the capacity. If you wanted him to input faster, then if we take that cell that had power in it out and put in another provider and take a look. Now let's go ahead and take our energy cells out. We're going to start with blank ones. We're going to take our cells out and put blank ones in. Close that up. Put a blank cell in and a wall. And we see he can now input at 51,000 RF a tick, so double the input speed. So that's how you can grow your system to be what you want it to be. Now, let's quickly talk how to make these guys, because there is one little trick. Most of the parts are fairly simplistic stuff. Okay, steel and a tablet. We use tablets in lots of Mekanism things. It's a really common thing with redstone and gold, super easy, and we know how to make steel. That'll get you your casing. Your port is just 4 casings with an elite control circuit. Easy peasy. We've done those before. The cells and the providers. These guys use a new material called lithium dust. Both of them use it. So see, it's basic parts except for the lithium dust. Now here's the trick to lithium dust. Let me clear out my inventory. You need these solar evaporators. Now it can be any configuration you want. Okay, here's kind of a mid-sized one with 4 solar panels. Here's a shorter one, 2 blocks above the minimum with one solar panel. You could do one at the minimum size, which is 3 blocks tall, with no solar panels if you want. But the more solar panels you put, the hotter it's going to get. The taller you go, the more capacity you can run. So this guy is taking water and turning it into brine. If you watched my series on ore duplication, from single ore to doubling to tripling to quadrupling to quintupling, you met these solar evaporators. We've talked about these. We've talked about making brine. So that is exactly what we're doing here. We're making brine. So I've got a water source on the back feeding into a port, and he is turning that water through heat into brine. You want to make sure you're in a fairly hot biome. That's why I chose a desert. Deserts and mesas and savannas are all hot biomes. Taigas, mega taigas, tundras, ice spikes, those kind of things are not going to produce at the same rate. Your temperature is not going to be as high. This is a nighttime temperature. We make it day, and it's going to go up significantly higher. And keep in mind, this is a fairly small unit. Now, you're going to pipe the brine out through these ports. There's a port here and a port here, and you're going to pipe it right into another unit. It could be the same size, smaller. Brine tends to be the slow side, so I generally like to make the brine one quite a bit bigger. And what it's going to do is take the brine, heat it up, and turn it into liquid lithium. Okay? Very similar to what we were doing with the brine. It's just turning brine into lithium instead of water into brine. Okay, again, the hotter you make it, the faster it works. Just like with the other one, though the brine tends to be slower than the lithium. Now, because it's a liquid, we want to use liquid pipes, and we want to push it out into a rotary condensator. Anytime we want to turn from a liquid to a gas, or a gas to a liquid, we use a rotary condensator in Mekanism. And this guy is turning liquid lithium into gaseous lithium, though they just call it lithium. Now, when you first set this guy down, the arrow is going to be pointing the other way. It's going to try to be turning a gas into a liquid instead of a liquid into a gas. Simply toggle the operation, to tell the machine, no, go the other direction. And it'll flip the arrow for you, and it'll go from a liquid to a gas. Okay? Now, there's 2 ports on this guy, a big fat one and a little tinier one. The big one is always your liquid. The tinier ones are always your gas. And this guy does take power. I've got a creative power cell underneath him. You could put it underneath, on the top, or in the back, but you do need to get him power. Now, since we've turned it into a gas, we're going to use pressurized tubes, or gas pipes, to push out into a chemical crystallizer. You can place these 2 guys side by side and have it do it, but I like to see the pipes myself. So this chemical crystallizer is going to take our gaseous lithium and turn it into the lithium dust we're looking for. Now, he also takes power. I've got another creative cell under there. Then I'm just using a logistical pipe or an item pipe to push them out into a chest to make our lithium here. This is what you'll use to make these cells and these providers. So you will need to have that set up in order to make these guys. Okay? Now, we've seen some small, these are the smallest size possible induction matrices. We've seen one slightly bigger. But how big can they get? Well, quite huge. They can get to a maximum size of 18 by 18. Yeah, it's pretty big, and I fell out of the sky. It's a massive, massive structure. And you can put any combination of cells and providers that you want. This 18 by 18 structure could have one cell and one provider, and it'll work just fine, exactly like this. It'll have the exact same characteristics of this one, only be that big. If you use the basic tiers, you can use basic tiers, the advanced, the elites, or the ultimates. Now this particular one is completely full. The entire bottom row right here is full of ultimate providers, the top tier providers. Every other row all the way up it is full of ultimate cells. So this thing is a beast. And if we look inside, as I've been setting this up, working on different things in this world, this guy's been running and filling up. And he's got a pretty hefty power source, and he's barely over halfway full. Yeah, that's a capacity of 777 tera RF. Yeah, tera. It's unbelievably massive. So he's accepting 859 mega RF per tick. So every tick he's getting 859 million RF. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. If we look at our statisticals, we see that he's got 3,789 cells. He has a full 18 by 18 by 18, and he's got 256 providers. He can have a maximum input and output of 3 billion RF. 3 billion RF input and output. That's just the input-output speed. That's more than most storage systems hold, much less input and output. So, yeah, Mekanism's a boss. Build you one. Build it now. Don't wait. Again, you can build a large size system and then put just a few cells in it and then grow it over time. Just like we saw over here. Okay? Well, that's all the time I got for today, but I sure do appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me and looking at this big, beastly power storage system. So, until next time, get out there and make some noise. See ya!